Thanks everyone for having me today. I came from Israel yesterday, and I will talk about how to build a international startup. There are 4 steps that we've been taking in a number of companies that I've built, and I think it would be of help for many companies here or many entrepreneurs here who are building startups. So a bit about myself, my personal background. I co-founded a couple of years ago. I come from the cyberspace. I co-founded a couple of security startups. One was called Guardium, where we developed a database solution, kind of a big solution for enterprises that covered, protected every database within an organization from different vendors and different versions and so forth. It provided an advantage of providing one solution instead of agents to different databases within the company. We raised about $20 million from Israeli investors and from Cisco and others. And within 5 years, the company was acquired by IBM for about $250 million. I then co-founded another cyber startup called Insightix in the network access control space. What we did there is basically a dashboard for IT managers that can see all the devices that are connected to the corporate network, and they can block devices instantly without any dependency on the company infrastructure. They couldn't care less about the vendor of switches, routers, and so forth. Everything was working transparently, and that company a couple of years later was acquired by McAfee, the antivirus company. My current company called Personity.ai, and I will talk about what we do in the company because it will allow me to basically give you a lot of examples about how we build a company to be an international one. So I will be focusing my presentation on sales and business development and marketing, what I call execution. There's the technology and product side where, the developers are working on that, and then there's the execution. We need to make sure that the company is sustainable, by getting paid for that. I will talk about why building an international startup for those who are going to do that, and also show you the 4-stage model that we've been following in the last couple of companies, and that worked really well for us. So, Personity, what do? We have a team of psychologists and team of AI experts. All of them are PhD in machine learning, computer vision, and so forth. And the idea is basically to take people's images from social media, from applications like Google Photo, Flickr, and so forth. By the way, everything is user permission. I depend on the user permission. If we don't get permission, we don't do anything. I will explain about that. But basically, we run all kind of machine learning algorithms and deep learning algorithms to basically build or understand the personality of the user. Who they are under different traits, whether they're open or not, whether they're conscientious or not, and so on. So basically, we produce what people usually go to a psychologist for, before getting an executive job. You meet a psychologist and they do a full day evaluation, and they provide the potential employer with a personality assessment. So this is what we do without any questionnaires and without any psychologists. We basically have taken the Ocean test, Big 5 in psychology, which is the most popular psychological evaluation in the world, and usually people need to take to answer about 300 questions in order to get their personality assessment. When they do something like this, there are a couple of problems with that. Usually, it takes a lot of time, and it's usually very biased. It's biased because people answer questions in order to get a job, not to show who they are. So we basically take images of people, we analyze them, and we provide the results that you would get if you would fill that type of a questionnaire. And the idea behind what we do can basically be served in many different industries. HR is one of them, human resources. you can think about recruiting. You want to better understand who are the people that you get into your company. And I will talk in a second about that, but there's a massive problem right now going on in markets like the US and Europe, where there's a lot of turnover of employees. And one of the main reasons for that is that companies screen employees based on their skills, based on their experience, but they don't do any personality assessment for the mass employees. You know, think about supermarkets and you have cashiers. No one's really looking at their personality. Other markets are advertising. Think about, you know, every one of you is different from, you know, the person next to them. Think if you could build an application or advertising that really relates to someone's personality. There's an interesting research or experiment that was done in that space where the Hilton hotel chain have taken 2 ads. One is very quiet, people are relaxing next to the swimming pool, very calm colors, you know, gray and blue and so forth. And the other one was very loud. You know, people are partying, a lot of red colors and so forth. And they presented those advertising to introverts and extrovert people. And basically the statistics shows, the analysis show that if you give the right person the right advertising, you would get 100% more conversions as opposed to just sending everyone the same advertising. So this is what advertising based on personality means. We can think about insurance. The psychological model that we are using was also researched for insurance. And in that case, if you think about it, we can find connections. There were connections found actually between car accidents, the chances of someone to be involved in a car accident and their personality. And of course, online dating. Who doesn't want to find their best match? So based on personality, you know, rather than just an image, you can probably find some better matches. So in the market space, from our perspective, we're basically going after enterprises and staffing companies. And why is that? It's because they have massive recruiting all the time. In America, for example, a company that has 10,000 people, and there are many like that, they're basically replacing about 30 to 40% of their people every year. Think about the cost of something like this to a company. On average, it costs about $4,000 to recruit a person. The damage of replacing a person is about a third of their annual salary, which is about $10,000 to $12,000 more. And it also takes about 42 days to recruit a person. Think about that. That's a very long time to recruit someone. Okay, so this is what we're trying to solve. This is the type of report we're providing at Personity.ai. You can see the different attributes, the ocean attributes, and it basically doesn't say whether you're good or bad. It just gives what your traits are more likely to be. And companies using something like this can basically decide or pre-decide, you know, what type of employees they're looking for. Do they want people who are very open and tolerant? Do they want people with worries all the time or not worry, out-of-the-box thinkers and so forth? There's so many attributes that you can find from something like this. And the way we do it, it's really amazing, I think. Because first of all, you get it immediately. You know, we get permissions from the user to scan their images, we analyze the images, and we immediately give them the report. It's an accurate report because unlike tests that are usually taken, the assessments, what I said before about being biased, this is not biased because when we build our algorithms, everything was based on people who provided us with access to their data and fill out questionnaires without any promises to get a job and without any incentive. We didn't pay them anything or anything like that. We just told them, you want to see your personality, fill the questionnaires and we'll give you that. And this is how we build our algorithms. So when we provide feedback about someone, it's authentic. Lastly, I think it's really important for people who are taking something like this, taking a test like this, to make sure that it's, you know, keep or maintain or protect their privacy. And in that respect, first of all, I will talk about this in a second, but it's completely legal in the sense that we do nothing without the user permission. Users have to give us permission to look at their data. Only then we analyze it and provide it to, first of all, to the candidate and then to the potential employer. The candidate is the one that decides whether to send the report, the personality assessment, to the potential employer. And the other thing that we do, as soon as we're done creating the report, we immediately send the user an email saying, we deleted all your data, we don't have it anymore, nothing on our servers. And basically, if someone else, another potential employer, is asking you to go through this process, you have to do it all again, providing us access, we analyze the images and so forth. Nothing is kept on our servers. And in terms of benefits, if you think about traditional recruiting, basically, on average, in America, 250 resumes are sent for every position. That's a big number. And then they have to read it, and then they have to call some of them. They have to invite some of them to a face-to-face interview, skill assessment, and so forth. In America, there's also something called background checks, where they basically find out whether someone has had legal problems in the past. So what we do, we say, stop that process. Hold on for 1 second. Screen your candidate first with the Personity technology. Define what type of people you want to get, and we'll screen all of them and tell you which 20 or 30% are most suitable to what you're looking for. So you're looking for open people, we'll give you a list. We'll rank them and give you a list of only the top open people in your list. Talk to those guys, talk to those 20 or 30%, and not to the rest of them. That's basically what we do. And by doing something like this, we immediately tell them, take the same process, but instead of with 250 people, with 50 people. So you immediately cut the cost and cut the time it takes to find the right candidate in your list. And you can see the example in terms of numbers, saving something like this, $1,000 on every recruit. For a company that recruits 1,000 people, 5,000, 10,000 per year, that's millions of dollars going directly to the company's bottom line. So that's in a nutshell what we do. And what I'll do now, I'll talk about building an international startup, and and also talk about how we did it at Personity. So the first question comes is, why should we go internationally? What's in it for the company? And I think there's one answer to that. It's all about money. We want to make more money. We want to find bigger opportunities, and this is why we go internationally. If you think about the market in the US, the European market, the Far East market, they're huge. There's a ton of potential in those countries. And there are certain things that you want to look at or consider when you think about going internationally. So first of all, the local market versus the international opportunity. So where I come from, Israel, it's a very, very small country. We have about 9 million people in population. Consider that to the US, it's much bigger. And every startup that starts in Israel, get investments and so forth from VCs and whatnot, immediately thinks about the international market. We don't care about the local market. It's only good for beta sites and pilots and verifying that things are working, but nothing more than that. It's a very, very small market. In terms of the opportunity we talked about, and also the ecosystems, when you start your company, you should consider, what's out there. Competition, potential partners, and so forth. And for us, for example, at Personity, one of the things that we're going is after the HR market. So in Israel, there are about 3 or 4 million employees. In America, it's 145 million. That's like 30 times what we have in Israel, and it's an immediate, huge market, for us. The second thing is the market that you're looking at in terms of the population, potential customers. If you're thinking about a B2C business or a B2B business, most likely you'll find a much bigger audience or addressable market in foreign countries. And the last thing I think, which is really important for you guys in Kiev, is the pricing and currency. We have we have a development team here in Kiev. We work in Kiev. And that's, I think, one of your advantage. You have a ton of smart people here in Kiev. And I think that cost of developing here is much lower compared to anyone else. And this should be taken as an advantage when you go and develop, an international company. So stage one, we talked about 4 stages to build an international company. Stage number 1, when you build a company, when you start the company, think internationally. Don't think about starting here, for a couple of years and then go out. From day one, think about the international market. And that starts with funding. When you find investors, you should find such as investors, VC, angel investors, whoever, that has this mentality of building a multinational company. If you work with, I think I moved one. There we go. If you work with investors who are only interested in local markets and building local applications, I think you will find it very, very difficult to change their state of mind and build an international company. They will complain about the cost, about the time, who needs the international market, and so forth, and that would really harm your chances of building an international company. The other thing is that when you work with investors that has this mentality of building an international company, and they have done it, usually they have done it a couple of times before, you can see that they have huge network of contacts that you can use. And that really helps when you try to start getting customers and partners and other investors in the US, for example, or the European market. It really helps when your investors are a part of that process. The other thing is legal and accounting. From day one, you have to think about, how would it look if we build a company in a way that is shady, not really legal. We started from my own bank account and we did this and we did that. It doesn't really look good to potential investors, to potential clients. Everyone is going to look into you, especially when you're a newcomer to the market, and you have to make sure that everything is in line. So for example, what we did at Personity, we work with the top accounting firm, E&Y, I'm sure you know, and also the top legal firm in Israel that works with Facebook and Microsoft and IBM and so on. So that really helps when we go to talk to customers, when we talk to partners and so forth, and we present, who's behind us, who's working with us. That puts you in a very good position because they know everything must be organized with that company. The other thing is the team. It's really important that when you build a team, even here in Kiev, your local market, the team would have the mentality and the language and the attitude, what we call the culture, to build an international company. If you think about, again, depends on your target market, but assuming that would be the US, you have to work with people who have very good English, very open, very tolerant and so forth, and can really work with people in the other side. By the way, one of our team members who built this presentation for me, the graphics, the graphic design and everything is here today, and you can ask him about building the team. Everyone in our team can speak with customers in the US, and more than that, they also, often they have a mentor, one of the world leaders in their space, working with them on their projects. And then the product, localization. Depends on what market you're going after. You need to think about languages and the mentality of that specific location, geographical location, and what needs to be done in that space. One thing that is interesting in our application, since we're looking at images and not text, we don't care about the geographical location. So we can work with companies in Italy, in America, in any other place as well. Stage number 2, penetrating the international market. So first of all, we start, in day one again by doing networking. And a couple of years ago, there was a very big magazine, high-tech magazine called Red Herring in the US, talking about all kind of things related, of course, to technology. And one of the issues, the cover story, the title was Networking or Not Working. And in that space, it's really true. If you want to build an international company, you usually don't have the contacts and the people on the other side. You have to start to build this very early. And today there are tremendous, amazing tools to do something like this. It could be LinkedIn and meetups and friends and investors and whatnot. And those can really help you get to whoever you want to get on the other side. One of the things that we're seeing, I haven't worked in the HR business before. I'm not a recruiter, I never worked in that space, but the contacts that I have done, I lived a couple of years in Boston and New Jersey in the US, really helped me to get the first contacts in these markets, and then from there you just spread it. Everyone hears about you from their friends. Then pilots and POCs, really critical for the success of an international company. As I mentioned before, you can start locally with a couple of accounts, but then you need to go outside. You need to get some reference accounts. Usually if it's an enterprise play, if you're targeting enterprises, you need to go and find a few well-known enterprises that would work for you with your product. And there are a couple of things. They need to be very friendly and early adopters. Those are kind of the minimal terms that will help you get successful initial installation, initial product sales, and references that you can use later in your marketing, in your PR campaigns, and so on. And then opinion leaders. One of the things that are really critical is to build some kind of advisory board or people around the company, people who are really believe in what you do, and people know them. And that could be, ex-VPs in big companies. That could be newspaper reporters, some people that really know. And that could also be professors in academy. It's really nice to have such professors from our perspective in AI, machine learning, computer vision, and so forth, that understand what we do and kind of feel basically the technology that we develop. So again, coming back to Personity, what we've been able to do using LinkedIn and contacts and friends and so forth is to get to a number of very large opportunities. That could be Uber, who wants to screen their drivers basically using our technology and see which people, which personalities are right for driving and which ones are presenting problems. Other companies, Airbnb, which you probably know as well, people are coming to my home, I have no idea who they are, I want to run some type of assessment and see what their personality is like. Companies like MasterCard in Israel, and also Kelly Services. Kelly Services is the 5th largest staffing company in America. They basically place 1 million people every year to work. It's an amazing number, and the number of filtering and the number of screening and the spending on something like this is really huge. In terms of partners, from day one, we started talking or identifying who might be potential partners for Personity, for what we do. And we identify a couple of players, a couple of partners that would be great to work with. Some of them are mentioned here. SAP, everyone knows SAP from Germany. They have a huge company or subsidiary called SuccessFactors that sell HR software. So working with such a giant immediately gives you exposure to thousands of companies, to thousands of potential clients. In terms of experts, we were very lucky to get people like Rebecca Guerra on our advisory board. She was the ex-VP of HR for eBay. So when you go on a call with a potential customer and you put Rebecca on the line and she explains to them the value of what Personity does, think about how much impact something like this has. And the fact that her name is associated with your venture, or someone like this is associated with your venture, really gives it the reliability that people are looking for. Stage number 3, establishing the US or the international presence for the company. So basically, once you have successful POCs and once you have successful installations and initial sales, you're trying to expand that. And usually this expansion requires a local subsidiary. You have to have boots on the ground. You have to have people that will work for you locally. And then again, you have to, going back to everything needs to be in order and everything else, you have to make sure that legally the company is located in that geographic that you're targeting. And then from there, building an initial presence. Usually what companies do, they either hire a sales or business development executive in that geographic, or one of the founders of the company who knows the product and company very well moves there, relocates to that specific geographic, and hiring a junior director level or something like this. Again, sales, biz dev, marketing usually comes after that. And then the first reference account, which we talked about before, are really key for the company. And this is exactly what we were able to do at Personity. We basically established Personity Inc. recently after we were able to get the first accounts and first reference accounts in the US. We recruited a sales executive, a gentleman by the name of Jeff Campbell. Jeff basically was the VP of sales for a number of startups before, growing sales from 0 to over $100 million in revenue. And this person, found what we do really interesting and joined the company, which means 2 things for us. First of all, it's a great honor for us as a company, and then for potential additional investors or for customers, it's really a great vote of confidence. They say if that person join the company, it's worth something. They have this something unique about them that led this person to work for them and not for someone else. And then the POC and reference accounts, we're right now in that process, but we're working with companies like the ones I mentioned before, Uber, Amazon, Deloitte, E&Y, Kelly Services, and a number of others who are looking into our technology, and every potential deal like this, is really important and has a lot of influence, for the company. The last stage, international expansion. I've done it before with my previous company. We haven't gotten to that stage with Personity yet. But that basically talks about building a company or expanding the sales organization, the marketing, the PR, the business development of the company within that international geography to basically build a big business. You're trying, at the end of the day, to build something that is sustainable, profitable, and at the end of the day, you can either IPO or sell the company to a bigger company. So that's basically what we do. That's what we have on building an international company. It's based on my experience so far, and if you have any questions or anything, I'll be happy to answer them.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. I'm Alexei. I run UScan. We are a local company with a social media analytics area. We have a big success in a local market, but we are also targeting international expansion right now. So I have 2 questions actually. So first, in terms of advisors and experts that you mentioned that help you with the calls, actually with the clients and their advice. So do you pay them for that, or do you provide them a small equity stake in a company?
So yeah, what we usually do in those type of instances, we provide them with options in the company, like for other employees. So they have a stake in the company that, if they do well, if the company do well, they enjoy that as well. In a couple of previous companies that I have done, those type of advisors, after the exit of the company, earned anywhere between $50,000 to $500,000 just by being advisors.
Thanks. The second question is about establishing a local entity at your target market. So how important do you think is it to have a legal entity in that market? Because basically you can accept international payments not being located in US, for example.
So there are a couple of points about that. First of all, you have to have a legal entity in the US, for example, if you want to employ people and pay them salary and benefits and healthcare and so forth. And the other thing, you should consult with your accounting because it's not really simple to sell outside. If you have a team that sell over there, there are all kind of things like transfer price and so forth where you need to basically pay taxes in that geography other than your local taxes. Anything else? Good. Thanks for having me. Thank you very much.